What is most important about the biospiritual healing system that's called Kathara is that it gives us an opportunity to begin to understand the reality of what we are made of. Most of us have some idea that we have a physical body. We have a mental body of some sort, a mind that is aware of having a physical body. And most of us hope, at least, that we have a spiritual body, whatever that might be, because that's our connection to something larger than here, bigger than here, that gives us purpose and reason. Some people call it God, some people call it spirit, some people don't call it anything, but they sense that living life force that they're a part of, whether or not they have a body. Now, not everybody realizes that the body is just a very tiny part of the anatomy of the human being. It's only a very tiny part of the anatomy of matter. We're in a system that we have our bodies here, but we're also in a world that appears to be three-dimensionally solid. But behind this thing called matter, both the matter that our bodies are made of and the matter that the planet is made of, there is much more of an anatomy of energy structure. There's a structure called the Kathara grid. There is a structure of many layers of the Kathara grid that bring us up to the point where what is not manifest becomes manifest as matter. The power of the human being, the power of the human being as a spiritual creation, exists in those realms of anatomy that are beyond what we see in the three-dimensional form. Those are the areas of our anatomy that literally direct what our physical bodies will do. They direct our birth process, our aging process, our growth process. They direct whether we will be healthy or sick. If we don't understand the anatomy that exists behind our matter, we are going to be at the mercy of that matter. If our body gets old, we're not going to know what to do to change that, to stop it, or to fix it. If our body gets sick, we're going to try to fix it from the outside in. But if there's something wrong in the templates beneath the matter, we're not going to be able to create a permanent fix or a permanent healing. Kathara healing takes us into the core template of matter. It takes us not only into the levels of healing or holistic healing that are identified in things like Chinese acupuncture, which deal with meridian lines in the body, with Reiki systems of healing, which deal with the subtle energy bodies and chakras and using symbol codes to work with them. Beneath all of those levels of your body anatomy, your subtle body anatomy, there is a core structure that governs what your chakras are going to do, what your meridian lines are going to do, and what your matter particles are going to do. What's fascinating about learning your anatomy, it's like we've been going through thousands of years thinking that we only had, let's say, one hand and one leg, and we've been trying to get along with that one hand and one leg, not realizing there was a whole other half of our body that if we learned how to use it, we would be able to walk and function much better. The other half of our body, their anatomy, that we have not been using in the last 25,000 years especially, has been part called the Kathara grid. The subtle energy systems that get into the primal life force currents and how they come through the body template to manifest what we call our physical form. But they don't only manifest the physical form. Spirit, consciousness, the consciousness that makes you aware of who you are today, that helps you to remember who you were yesterday, who you were as a child, the part of you that allows you to visualize who you might like to become or where you might like to go in the future. This part of you that you call consciousness is your spirit. It's right here with you. It's not separate from you. The Kathara grid template that your body matter manifests on is also the template of energy that your consciousness manifests into dimensionality through. It's what gets you into your body. If there are template problems within the human body, which right now there are on a global scale, and there have been for 25,000 years. If there are problems in the template, there will not only be problems with the matter form, there will be problems with the consciousness as it tries to get into that matter form. Right now, the way things work in our system is when we are in spirit form, before we enter a process called fetal integration, where we as spirit, consciousness, come into a body vehicle to have an incarnation here, we have a problem with the body pattern here because of template distortions, which means as soon as the consciousness comes into the body and intertwines itself with the DNA template, with the gene code, the DNA template literally shuts off about 90% of the consciousness. The part that's left here grows. This is what becomes the person. You remember you as a baby being. It becomes a person that you grow to be here. But the rest of who you are, who you were when you came in, is who you still are, but you don't remember it because you can't bring the memory of yourself as a spirit directly in, because the body serves as a light switch. It's turning most of the current off, most of the current of your consciousness. Now, the current of your consciousness, if you had it fully embodied as a human being with a human template, you would have a minimum of 12 dimensions of consciousness, not just seeing a three-dimensional reality field, but you would be able to access and move your consciousness and your body through 12 dimensions of matter, which means different matter density levels. We were, once upon a time, a species that was immortal. Our bodies did not die. That is not a natural condition for the human body form. However, we've been dying for a very long time on this planet. There's a reason why we've been dying on this planet, and that reason is a genetic mutation. It's a genetic mutation that has been rendered on the deepest core template level of the subtle bodies, the Cathara grid. And because of that, literally, the way our chromosome structures evolve, the way our gene code in chemical terms evolves, is not what it was intended to be. It is not functioning on its original divine blueprint. So we find ourselves trapped as consciousness in a mortal body form that has a very, very short lifespan that progressively deteriorates before our eyes. By the time we hit 35 years old, we start to feel it. We start to feel what's called the death hormone. It starts to kick in, and it starts to make you tired when 10 years ago the same thing didn't make you tired. The body literally starts to kill itself. It poisons itself with chemical toxins. Science here calls this normal. They call it the aging process. They tell us that we're supposed to accept the fact that birth, death, and paying taxes are about the only thing that's really certain in existence. Science here accepts death as what it's supposed to be like for a human form, because science here is based on a very small amount of partial knowledge, because the ancient knowledge was hidden from the races on this planet. It was hidden in order to make us easy to control, in order to keep us from remembering the rest of ourselves why we were here. Why, if we were immortal, why the heck have we been dying all these years? Why don't we remember who we are if we're somebody special? If we're something different than what we perceive as animals, and we actually have this huge amount of consciousness called spirit that has the answers to everything, is directly connected to God, why don't we know this? Why does it seem like something we wish for? Hope is there, but we have no evidence to really support. There are reasons why these things took place, and the reasons are huge. We're in the middle of a big, big drama right now on this planet. It's not a drama that started yesterday. It's a drama that started in a period of time that's known as the Atlantean period. Now, we hear legends of Atlantis coming up in our culture these days, and it's still a fictional place in terms of mainstream experts telling us what our past was. Mainstream experts base their interpretation of what they think our past was on records and bones that they found and guesses they've made as to what those might mean if you put them together in certain ways. Right now, our cultures are being fed through mainstream science. They're being fed partial facts and guesses as if they were absolute truth, as if they were proven, when in fact, the assumptions that science frequently comes up with by looking at evidence, but not having any idea of what to compare it to, there are reasons why science is doing what it's doing. Because that gets into something called Illuminati, which are a body of people on this planet that have been doing things with information for many thousands of years in order to control the large amounts of people in a negative way.